Hello friends, this is Kumar and I welcome all of you to my YouTube channel. Friends, today we are going to discuss a great literature book, a tiny book which has been written by Aristotle and it is known as Poetics. Poetics is really a treatise on fine art. In it are mentioned not only epic and dithyrambic poetry but tragedy, comedy and flute and lyre playing. Aristotle's conception of tragedy, the depiction of a heroic action that arouses pity and fear in the spectators and brings about a catharsis of these emotions, has helped perpetuate the Greek ideal of drama to the present day. Similarly, his dictums concerning unity of time and place, the necessity for a play to have a beginning, middle, and end, the idea of the tragic flow and other concepts have had enormous influence through the ages. Throughout the work, Aristotle reveals not only the intellectual analyzing the nature of poetry, music, and drama, but also a down to earth understanding of the practical problems facing the poet and playwright. So, today we are going to review, we are going to analyze, we are going to summarize this tiny book. Although it is not easy to summarize this tiny book because it has great, deep rooted literary devices like epic poetry, dithyrambic poetry, poetic diction, and then so many other things which deals with the drama, which deals with Greek drama, which deals with English drama, which deals with every kind of drama are here explained in this book, in this tiny book. Aristotle was the tutor to Alexander the Great and student of Plato. Plato, you all know Plato who banished poets and poetry from his ideal republic. So he was the student of Plato and he was the tutor to Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great. He was tutor to Alexander the Great. Aristotle was an realist, but Plato was an idealist. Plato was a philosopher, while Aristotle deals with every kind of literature, every kind of field of human concerning. Plato believes that poetry's main concern, main aim is to just instruct, while Aristotle believes that poetry's main concern is to please and delight. Aristotle's Poetic, which we are going to discuss today, has 26 chapters. Chapters from 1st to 5 deals with epic poetry, while chapter from 6 to 19 deals with the tragedy. Chapter from 20 to 22 deals with poetic diction, while chapter 23 and 24 deals with history, epic poetry, and their comparison with history. And last two chapters of this book puts superiority to tragedy. First of all, let's talk about epic poetry. For Aristotle, an epic is a narrative poem written in heroic hexameter. It has four constituent parts, that is plot, character, thought, and diction. Aristotle defined tragedy as tragedy then is an imitation of an action that is serious, complete, and of a certain magnitude in language embellished with each kind of artistic ornament, the several kinds being found in separate parts of the play in the form of action, not of narrative, through pity and fear affecting the proper purgation of these emotions. While language embellished, I mean language into which rhythm, harmony, and song enter. While the several kinds in separate part, I mean some parts are rendered through the medium of verse alone, others again with the aid of song. Okay, so whereas in epic poetry there are four constituent parts, while in tragedy there are six constituent parts. They are plot, character, thought, and diction, and song and spectacle. Song and spectacle are added part to the tragedy than epic poetry. Okay. Other than Aristotle says that plot is the soul of tragedy. He says that Aristotle says that plot is the soul of tragedy. He says he doesn't consider episodic plot as good plot. He says that there should be hamartia, that is a tragic flow in the character, and hamartia should be followed by peripecia, that is means reversal of the situation, and then the hero should realize his mistake, which is known as anagnorisis. Thought is the faculty of saying what is possible and pertinent in the given circumstances. Diction is the expression of meaning in words. Song holds the chief place among the embellishments. The spectacle has indeed an emotional attraction of its own. So it is all about tragedy. And then he talks about epic poetry. He says that epic poetry is a long narrative poem. It speaks about n number of things. It speaks about ideal heroes. There are heroes like God. and they have supernatural powers. They can do miraculous deeds, and they can do whatever they want. Okay, in epic poetry there is no limit of time, but in tragedy you must complete the action by 24 hours. One must follow action time and action time and scene while writing in tragedy, and the action of the tragedy must not pass, must not overcome 24 hours. While in epic poetry there is no limit of time. There is out 3 to 4 lives you can cover in an epic tragedy, like in Odyssey. Okay, so and while speaking about history, he says that in history you records only facts, while in poetry you can make something great, something up than great. That is not ordinary, that is extraordinary. You can show that. And in poetry, there is no limit as such. We can write whatever we feel to write in poetry, and that's why he says that history is not regarded as good for Aristotle. He says that neither history nor epic poetry is good to me. I go with tragedy. At that time, nobody was going with tragedy. Everybody likes to watch, everybody likes to read epic poetry. But he says that he goes with tragedy because it has two more things which are not found in tragedy. Epic poetry don't hold our interest, because epic poetry goes long and long, while in tragedy holds our interest, because there are comic scene in between tragedy, and tragedy ends only in 24 hours, so it is easy to watch tragedy than to read poetry. And Aristotle says that one can read even drama also, one can read plays also, and it is not necessary that plays should be watched. He says that one can read plays also, and one can read plays also, and one can find enjoyment while reading plays. While comparing history and tragedy, he says that in history you records only facts. He gave the example of Macbeth. In Holyshed's Chronicles, it was founded that it was written that Duncan was a simple king. Duncan was a impotent kind of king. He was not very brave. So Macbeth killed him and became the king, and he ruled his kingdom for 10 years in a great manner. It was a written fact, it was a written history, but this will give the wrong message to the nation. This will not give the right message to the nation. A man killing a king and then becoming a king in his place and then ruling for 10 years in a peaceful manner, this is not good to show on the stage. Okay, that's why in Macbeth, Shakespeare made necessary changes. He made Duncan a simple king, okay, a simple king, a simple and honest king, while he made Macbeth killed the king, and while he was in sleeping, and then Macbeth is haunting of Macbeth, and even his wife is haunting of his, haunting of so many things, and he was not able to rule. Macbeth was not able to rule greatly for whatever period he ruled in his play, in Shakespeare's play, while in actual Macbeth played very well the role of a king in real life. But in tragedy we can't show it. We can't show it on the stage because it will give the wrong message. So he shows that poetry shows men higher than usual, higher than ordinary, and that is we must make these necessary changes. These are very important. The main concern when Aristotle wrote Poetics was to oppose his guru, to oppose his master. His master was Plato, as I told you earlier in the lecture. Plato said the poets are liar. Plato says that poets are liar and they must be banished from the ideal republic. Poets write poetry that is thrice removed from reality. He says that God made the real bed and then the carpenter copied it, and after looking at the carpenter's bed, a painter made the painting of carpenter's bed. So when poet writes a poetry about the bed, it becomes thrice removed from reality. But Aristotle opposed this point. He says that it is not true. It is not true that poetry imitates the action of thrice removed from reality. He says that I agree with you that you say that poetry is the imitation. Obviously, poet imitates the word, but they imitate directly the God's thing. Okay, they imitate the things which has been made by God. So poetry is first removed from reality. Na? Poetry is not thrice removed from reality. Poetry is something which shows above thing, as we given examples in earlier about Macbeth play. Okay, so he says that poetry gives us image that is above than reality, that is not par with reality, that is above than reality, or it shows men higher in actual life. So that's why he believes that tragedy must be given a proper place in literature, in our literature. And he says that poets should not be banned in ideal republic because poets are not liars. They don't show us that, they don't ask to follow anything, they just show us that what can be. They don't show us, they don't though by writing poetry, by reading poetry, we become enthusiastic, but the poets do not ask people to be enthusiastic. They do not ask. Defending the point that Plato said that poets are liars and they are immoral, Aristotle says that poets are not liars, they are not immoral, they don't show immorality. Though they show Zeus raping a woman, they shows Achilles being drunk and fighting for the money, but they shows that if we make such mistakes, if even God makes such mistakes, they have to go through punishment. They have to go through punishment. So poetry gives a message. Poetry doesn't give a wrong message, but poetry warn a man if he do mistakes, if he choose the wrong path, then he will be punished. So this is thing the poet wanted to show to the audience. But if the audience is taking wrong message, it is not the its blame should not be given to the, should not be made upon the poets, because it is not poets fault that if somebody is taking wrong messages from their poetry, while they are going to warn us and we are taking wrong messages from the poetry, this is not poets fault. Poets are trying to warn us, and this is the thing that poets do. But if somebody is taking wrong messages from this thing, this is not their fault. They try to warn the society, and it is their duty to warn the society. It is their duty to show what is natural and what should be followed, to follow a good and to lead a good and to follow a good and well life. Okay, this much all has been said by Aristotle in his book Poetics. There are other points which he has mentioned in his poetry. There are some other points which are very important regarding Plato's Republic, but we are not dealing here as a book. We are just summarizing this topic, we are just analyzing the book, we are just review the book. So if you ask me, I think you should read this book at once. You must read this book if you are a student of literature, and if you are preparing for NET exam or any other exam concerning English literature, then you must read this book. This is very important. This is very, very important for you if you are an English literature student. Though I have discussed every kind of point in this book, but still if something left, then please forgive me, because in lecture we say whatever come to our mind, and I think reading this book will not be a good deal, because it is a tiny book covering only 26 chapters and there are 60 pages of this book. It is the thrift edition. You can buy whatever edition you feel like buying, and I think you must read this book at least once in this life if you are a student of this literature. Okay, this much all in this lecture. Thank you very much for joining the lecture. If you like the video, if you like the content, then please like, share and comment on the video, and please subscribe the channel for further such updates. Thank you very much for joining the lecture. Have a great